Item G then is proposal to relocate the existing high school office.
Well, again, what we want to do tonight, and Dave could have stayed up here too for this one. We've been working on this together. I have a PowerPoint. That's what I'm looking at. We've been talking now for the better part of, I want to say, 2 years of relocating the high school office. I think if you take a look at, or if you know where it's at currently right now, and you get an idea by looking at thanks, David, for coming up too, sorry. That all right away. But you have what used to be the main entrance for the high school, which was right here. When we put the addition on and put the new commons on, we put it on the north end of the building. And I don't want to say that's become the new entrance, but it gets used a lot like the new entrance or the main entrance. And what we're doing during the school day, and David's done a nice job with this, has limited the entrance and exit to that area simply to the time before school starts, during lunch, and then after school. And we still want to try to maintain that focus of this being the visitor's entrance, because we're talking about school safety here too. We're not just talking about making a nicer office for Mr. Hay and everybody else who works in these areas. It really kind of centers around school safety. So what we're proposing to do, and right now when you walk in, I'm going to jump around a little bit here, sorry, but you come in this little entrance here, so you have basically, what do we have in the school, about 900? Yeah. They come in here and they have a little bit of a countertop here. This is not even used anymore. There used to be a glass window at one time that was being used for students. But what we'd like to do then is move this to what is currently the guidance office, and then what is the health room right here, to make our new office area. And what that would do is give us be able to better vision going down all of the hallways. And I'm going to let David go ahead and explain a little bit of the concept behind that now.
It's just like Greg said, it puts you at the what I call the center of the spokes of the high school. So you would have access to the main visitor entrance, access to the main student entrance. That's where they come and go. Access straight down the tech ed hallway, and then straight down the main library LMC hallway. So the 4 main corridors where anybody's going to access the building or move throughout the building. Now from the main office, having windows here and here, you have line of sight to all of the key areas of the building. So from a safety and security standpoint, it seems to make a lot of sense. It allows us to recognize the way the traffic flows, that I think no matter what we would do way up here or over here, we're still going to have visitors that show up at this entrance because it's by the road, and we're still going to have students that show up at this entrance because it's where they park. And so this is, I think, I wouldn't just say a good compromise, I think a good plan to be able to manage the way that traffic does move throughout the building.
We had initially proposed to the board facility, again, to be about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, was part of when we did the addition and remodeling at the high school, was to take the old weight room we put on the fitness center and to, at some point in time, possibly move the existing office down into the old weight room down there. The problem we're finding with the old weight room is up above there's Phi Ed classes that are going on. And at the end of the day, you got wrestling practice, and probably one of our biggest concerns was the constant thud on the floor up above. And also, neither one of these entrances are really designed specifically to be a main entrance because of the amount of traffic that's flowing through both of them. We don't have parking to use at the new commons area to make that a main entrance, nor do we have parking down here to make this a main entrance for the high school students. So we're really going to have to take a combination of the two. And the actual quote for moving that office down there was about $240,000, where this is coming in right around $190,000. So by utilizing some efficiencies, by not removing some walls, really the only wall that's going to get moved right now is with this health room, and David has relocated that also through actually we'll have one less EDs, special education staff members. So, and I'll show you some other things. I just wanted to take a minute to look at the concept of design here.
The nice thing about this design is that the students can be inside the office as opposed to sitting out in the hallway. If you have 6 students, they can be in the office with people there to assist them, or if they're waiting, they have a question. Right now, there's just a short little counter, and you just kind of stand in line and wait.
And so, if your kid has ever been sick, you know that when they're in the current office, there's essentially the folding chair in front of Diana's desk, and that's it. And occasionally, there's more than one sick kid, and that becomes a bigger issue. So it will provide, I think, a much nicer welcome to students, staff, parents, and people who are researching schools too, coming through to have a much more welcoming, modern place to go.
I like that it's there where it can be seen, it can see down all the hallways and everything. I don't like that we're still keeping the current main door as that, because my thought was when we did the addition, the main door was going to be down by the cafeteria. And as someone who picks up and drops off someone on a regular basis, I do not like that place with no parking on the street. It is not user-friendly at all.
You're right, it's difficult. I don't think anybody would question that. The only problem is what we're afraid of. We don't have the parking space or the capacity to maintain the commons as, and I think that's what we found out real quickly when we put that down there, that there isn't the capacity to maintain any parking, so visitor parking is probably the biggest issue. And at the end of the day, if you've ever been there, well actually, in the morning when parents are dropping off kids, you just do not physically have the room to move around, and they're actually creating a more dangerous environment than if you have the two. You're concerned though about not having additional parking though, and we haven't quite taken that step yet, but I think what we will do is look at possibly looking at the potential of putting some sort of horseshoe parking in that front area up there to accommodate that issue that you're talking about right now. Does that make some sense for you?
It's kind of what I was thinking. Is that would be a good place for a horseshoe?
You don't have an answer. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. There is no perfect solution to this. You can tell people they can't come in the door, you can keep the doors locked, but you know what, they're going to have to park here.
They lock these doors other than at meal times, the main
I understand
doors.
that.
And so if I was to park in a visitor's parking lot, I would have to walk all the way around the building to get in.
Right, we understand that, but we made that conscious decision this year because regardless of what you had going on over there, whether the doors are opened or were not open, you didn't have the parking space to park in there most of the time anyways because they were always filled up. And if you do want to drop off your child at that door during the morning or afternoon, you really got to go there during those times. You physically can't get in and out of there. It's very difficult. So again, what I think we're seeing is that you're going to, because of the limitation of space, both in the physical parking lot we have, you're going to need 2 entrances regardless of what you do. So what we would like to explore in the future, get this taken care of first, and then at some point in time look to see if we can put a horseshoe up there of some sort. And I'm talking about that space in front of this entrance on the left and right side. Yeah, where the grass is.
One of the things we did do this year when we began locking those doors, we worked with the city, and right here on Lincoln Avenue, it used to be no parking all day during the school day, and it still is on our side of the road where the buses would pull up. The other side of the road, the city changed all of that to allow for visitor parking throughout the school day. But the time limit, I can't remember, it's a half an hour or an hour, so that it used to be illegal to park anywhere there, and so the city did work with us to change that. We were very appreciative.
Any other design questions or thoughts?
You did have a view of the...
Yeah, we can look at some other views here. This is basically what you would be looking at from the current, if I was walking, that's the only way I can do this, I'm sorry, if I was walking into the old entrance and heading west, you'd have your high school office over here on the left, then you'd have your guidance office, and then you'd have that classroom. You see two entrances, one door here, then I'd be looking down towards the English wing, heading this way, and there'd be another entrance door on that. And again, the concept is to get the glass so that the people in the office, again, have the best view that they possibly can to see what's going on outside of the, or in the hallways.
And I told the facilities committee, that's the spot, every passing period, I'm right outside that spot right now because it gives me the best view of all of the traffic that's going on in the building. You get the best read on where the student body as a whole is at, and it's a great location. Even if the office isn't there, that's where we need to be as administrators.
And then you'll also notice here is what was originally designed on that addition to be a custodial closet or a closet. What David had asked us to do was put together a design that could make that into a school store. So we put that together, and that's included in the total price of the cost of the project, along with any updates to the guidance office. Would include new lighting, or in the old high school office, that would include new lighting, ceiling tiles, paint, and flooring in there. So if we just take a quick look, this is what I'm looking for. A little bit of a budget summary here, just very brief. It's again, $190,000. That would take care of both the demolition and the remodel of both the old guidance offices and the high school offices to make this transition. Of that, $166,000 would be for demolition and reconstruction, and then you'd have HVAC work that we need to do for about $13,000. And that's, again, I'm putting that on the high side. It might be a little bit less than that. Keep in mind, the HVAC system serving this thing is original equipment, so it's probably about 45 years old. And we're going to be dealing with those issues like we do with any other issues that might come up in the future. Asbestos abatement, we do know there's asbestos in the flooring underneath the carpet, and then a contingency of about $5,409. And just reminding us that it is a remodeling project, and sometimes you could have your contingencies a little bit higher if you needed to. So, questions? Dave, did you want to add anything? Or you're both Dave. Dave, do you want to add anything?
Dave.
Just that the existing high school office it needs help right now. So,
yes, thank you.
The carpet is almost through to the concrete, and we need to do something soon. Whether we do this, then the thought process was that we really didn't want to stick any more money into that if that's not going to continue to be our high school office. So, and as Greg said, it's been a long haul with the different options that we've looked at.
And we were kind of basically stuck in gear on, until David came on board here, and we're talking about that. And sometimes it's nice to have a just different look at things. And he said, well, how about it being right here? And right here made a lot of sense right away.
When I look at the space you're using, I have a hard time picturing how that would have fit in the old
weight room.
Weight room.
We had it.
You did.
But what we didn't have was water. We didn't have a bathroom.
Oh.
And those things are important in a school office, and it doesn't matter what age you have. When kids are sick, they need to have access to those spaces. Otherwise, you'll be paying somebody else to clean up those areas. Yes, it does. And you'll notice again when you're taking a look at the plan, and I would say this, when I get there, it's not perfect. I mean, if we were going to start over, we'd probably do a lot of things different, including, Pam, what you're talking about, that front entrance. There's no question in my mind. I go to the Holman High School, and and you have probably about 80 acres or more sitting there with a school that's built on it, and they have one main entrance. But they also have a separate parking area for visitors that come in, and they got the students moved out, and they probably have a 30-acre parking area there. You know, we just don't have that space. But you know, it's not perfect. Not everybody's going to think this is sliced bread, so to speak. David has taken the time and worked through his staff, and considering all things, you know, we're thinking this is probably the best plan that we can put out there at this point in time.
Greg, I guess we should mention there are some time constraints because of when you look at trying to get it done after school ends and before school starts and applying for permits. I guess we were contemplating putting this on at the reorganization meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, this would be the other item that we'd like to get moving on. And the goal would be to pay for part of this out of, again, this year's budget, and the remaining out of next year's construction budget. And typically, we have a budget that in the construction budget is about $350,000. And if we see any savings in other areas, sometimes we'll add to that like we've done in past years too. So, but we wait till the end of the year. We want to make sure we cover the costs of everything we have in the budget. Then we start looking at spending those dollars, because we know, and that was the question comes up with, well, can't we use this for other things? We set a budget right now for next year, and we have to wait until we get to this time period to make sure that we've covered all of our expenses. So we don't know what heat's going to do. We had a great year, like I said earlier. We don't know what it's going to be like next year. We don't know where fuel prices are going. So in the big scheme of things, yeah, we're trying to protect budgets, but then we have this little thing where if we want to get aided on this money, we have to spend it this year. Otherwise, we don't get our aid, and that means we get less aid next year. The other thing, once it gets into fund balance, the likelihood of that being spent starts to decrease. We like to get money in fund balance, and we don't like to spend it.
Improvements in this district are amazing when you stop and look at the buildings we have here. And I think that back a little ways when we didn't have a tennis court, just to take a look at the tennis court facility that we have now. So this district kind of likes to move along with what they can, even though it's a budget crisis. The people in the district should understand that this is a needed improvement at the high school, and we as a committee were down there and looked it over one day with Dave and Greg, and the neat thing that I liked about it was where these people will be as opposed to where they are now. You're down in that middle of that school, you're right in the center of things. And you did mention it, David, about, and other people mentioned about the security process that we go through. I like that, being able to see what's going on. Because back in time we've had experiences where that was not the issue here. Schools around the nation have had that thing happen. So I think it's needed. I think one of the big things that I saw when I went down there was the security thing. I'd love to have the idea that somebody can look all through those areas and see things at a glance. Where it is now, it's pretty well hid. And of course, as you move along as a district, improvements are seen, and man, I hope the people of the district, I know I sure appreciate what's been done. They need to, even at a budget crisis time. It's needed.
I think we talked to finance too about that, you know, we're trying to keep our budget in mind and secure all we can for our budget, our programming, our students. And we are. But I know that we do have to look at the future, and when we have an opportunity to do something, and as you put forward, Greg, you're looking at spreading out the cost of this over 2 years, which does help us, I think, from a budget standpoint.
Keep in mind, we put a roof on a building last year for about $240,000.
Sometimes we lose that perspective.
Yeah, and when it comes to projects, whether this is the sign-off or the high school office, you can look at them a lot of different ways. It's all in perspective, and that's everybody's right to have a different perspective. But I think when we're looking at school safety and you're looking at trying to look down the road as to what we're going to need, timing's everything. And we haven't had a pretty good year where we're able to save some money in some areas. It isn't going to be like that next year. And you can't count on the savings that you might have in different budget areas. And again, we'll talk about those in a little bit here, to pay ongoing costs. These are one-time savings that we're seeing this year, and in some ways, we're just fortunate to be able to do projects like this. And I'm going to say, we're making some changes with whether that's our health insurance, some of our retirement things, but we're also trying to be fair to our employees too. So it's a give and take here too a little bit, because as we know, as we move forward with some of these things, and we're looking at the different insurances and wage increases, hopefully we're going to be able to be competitive on that end too.
And we are ahead of schedule on the roofing for the district, so that's a big ticket item when we have to do a roof project. The buses, we've got that covered for this year, going into next year. So when these pockets of money come up, it's important for us to invest it into something, a larger scale project. The facility committee felt it was an important direction to go with the money that we have available this year.
Any other questions?